From 2012 to 2016, the Florida Legislature spent millions of tax dollars to defend district maps that Senate leaders later admitted had been drawn illegally. They violated the Fair District amendments that were approved by voters in 2010. Newly drawn court-ordered maps compliant with the Florida Constitution were put in place just 5 years ago. In Tallahassee, lawmakers are now redrawing those maps after the 2020 census, and some want to start with a blank slate. Retired Justice Peggy Quince served on the Florida Supreme Court from 1998 to 2019 and was part of the court majority that threw out the illegal maps in 2016. From 2008 to 2010, she was the first African-American woman to serve as the Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court. And Justice Quince, welcome to Florida this week.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Let's start with the opening discussions this week in Tallahassee about redistricting. How do you think the process is going so far?
Well, I'm very hopeful. The leaders acknowledged that the previous efforts by the legislature really had been done improperly. They said that they would, in fact, follow the Fair Districts Amendment. So that they're starting off in a somewhat better position. I am a little concerned, however, with the fact that they have not made a decision about having public hearings. And I think it's essential to this process that the public be involved in every step of this redistricting process.
Why is transparency so important?
Well, that's what got us into trouble last time. There was no transparency. Maps were drawn by political operatives and then presented to the public as maps drawn by the legislators. Well, if it's open, we can see them drawing the maps, we can have input in the maps, and we will feel much better. Our confidence in this process would then be restored.
In an op-ed in the Tampa Bay Times this week, you said that the legislators should start with the maps we already have and not with a blank slate. Apparently, the Republican leadership in Tallahassee wants to start with a blank slate. Why is it important to start with the maps we already have as the basis for the new maps?
Well, the maps that we already have been proven to be compliant with the Fair Districts Amendments. We don't want to have to start over or go through years of litigation as we had to do before, because that disenfranchises people. We have only done 5 years of the maps that were drawn before. During those other 5 years, people's rights were not protected. And so if we start with maps that are compliant and make the proper adjustments for the decrease in some areas, there are decreases in populations. In other areas, there are increases. Make those adjustments. A number of districts may not even have to be adjusted. And so we start with those and add and subtract where we need to, keeping in mind all of those principles that are embodied in the Fair Districts Amendments.
Justice Quince, some people, the skeptics, say the process is fixed, that the Republicans control the committees in Tallahassee. The Republicans have a majority of appointments, or all the appointments, to the Florida Supreme Court. They control the Court of Appeals in Atlanta, where any decision by a federal judge here in Florida would go first. So the cynics say the courts are stacked against Democrats, and if Republicans come up with unfair districts, that's going to win the day.
Well, I can understand that people may feel that way. Well, when we went through all of the litigation before, certain principles were laid out, certain rulings were made, and even the United States Supreme Court acknowledged that we had made we had outlined principles that were good and should be followed in redistricting. And I am hopeful that despite political leanings, that our independent judiciary will in fact look at all of these with an open mind keeping in mind all of the items that are listed in the Fair Districts Amendment, and make sure that whatever maps are finally presented are in fact in compliance.
And Justice Quince, we just have about 20 seconds, but are there other things that the legislature should do to make sure that they are in compliance with the Fair District Amendments? And we just have a short period of time.
Well, if the process is open to the public and we see what they're doing, we can then say, no, that is not in compliance. Let's do it another way. If the public is there, if it's an open process, I think we can shortcut any items that may be in violation of the Fair Districts Amendments.
Justice Quince, thanks for coming on Florida This Week. It's an honor to have you here.
And it's been my pleasure to be here. Thank you.